What is up, Gov Seekers? How is everybody doing? It's our bi-monthly government seeking. Hope everybody is well. Let me get this situated here with my microphone and whatnot. We have an action-packed episode ready for you. Just action-packed, full of action packing. And of course, we will be doing a Patreon immediately following this. This will be this will be a 94th one. So if you join Patreon, you are immediately get access to 93, and today's 94th bonus segments. And they're all kind of evergreen. We do what's called a This Week in Government Secrets, or a TWIG. We find government secrets from whatever the week of the date that we're doing the show. So Halgal 00, I think that's formerly Holly Horn, is our moderator in the chat, and we got the people from all over. Beijing is in the house, right on. I was just in Beijing. I just did a show and did some shows in Beijing the end of January. And I was in Beijing, and then I was in Tokyo, and then I was in Osaka, then I was briefly in Los Angeles. So let's do it, folks. Without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Government Secrets with the two most censored comedians in America, Lee Camp and Graham Elwood.
Hey, man.
What is up?
The dark void behind you is looking good. Maybe freshly ironed or something. I'm not sure if a steamer was taken to the dark void, but it's looking hot.
It is a freshly ironed dark void. That is what this is. It is a freshly ironed dark void.
Every once in a while, when the void has traveled across the world, it's getting kind of wrinkly.
This dark void is just
you've heard of Wrinkles in Time. This is pretty similar.
This is your background is getting more and more high tech. Mine is getting less and less high tech.
I think we've reached a standstill at this point. I'm not. It's not changing from this one unless I have to move, and hopefully that doesn't happen. But I know. Look, we got a lot to cover. We got to get through it. I don't want to put things off for too long. But I know this isn't your beat anymore. But did you ever think the entire nation would be talking about Les Wexner at any point? Did you ever think that would happen?
I gotta tell you, man, like it's kind of like I have an Epstein playlist that goes back to 2019.
Yeah.
On my YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And shout out to G4W Can. Thank you so much for supporting our show. And a buddy of mine, that like is pretty much a liberal. He's a vote any blue will do kind of a liberal. And he even said, wow, Graham, you called this Epstein stuff. And I was like, yeah, I know a lot of people. And I almost said, like you thought I was nuts. And if people called me crazy, I go, but all of this stuff.
Not like me.
I go, a lot of people my buddy, not you, but my liberal buddies, who probably have stopped following me on social media, because I wouldn't vote for Harris or Biden. They all are like, wow. And I'm like, I called all this stuff, man. I called this and there was, 5 years ago.
Yeah. I wasn't covering it as much as you, but I remember doing an Epstein segment in 2015. I remember in 2016, there was the lawsuit against Donald Trump. This is when he was first running for president, lawsuit against Donald Trump. Woman saying she was 13 when she was R-worded by Donald Trump at an Epstein party. Then that lawsuit disappeared. And I think I did a segment on how, whatever happened to this? And now we've seen the deposition video of that woman has now been released. But yeah, it's all proving true. What do you know?
It's like, and 5 years ago, there was literally a handful of us, like me, Whitney Webb, who was on the forefront, in my opinion. She's still she is going so hard. She's gone so deep on this. there was literally a handful of people that were covering this, like a handful. And now it's like, oh, CNN's talking about it. Oh, wow. Look at, like it's Congress is talking about it. And
now things have gone full circle where you have Joe Rogan saying like, we really shouldn't talk about this. Let's just move on and talk about something that doesn't involve my friends Elon and Peter Thiel.
I know it's like, and I've basically, I haven't done a live stream in 2 weeks. I mean, like I'm barely, like, talking about the news has really burnt me out, and talking about Epstein really burnt me out because it's so dark. But I'm glad that now I'm not the only one. There was like 6 of us who all felt like we were just yelling out of a window, out of the window of a moving car that no one cared about or was listening to. And we were all looked at as crazy. And now it's like, yeah, I told you, man. Yeah. And I got yelled, the liberals tried to downplay the Clinton aspect of it. I mean, I remember some kind of people that I knew in the Bitcoin space publicly arguing with me on Twitter when I was calling out Trump's ties to it. They're like, it's all been debunked.
Yeah, you had to be part of being able to cover this successfully back a few years ago was you had to be outside of the two-party shit show. And even a lot of people who some of the time seem outside of the two-party shit show, they don't want to go that far. They don't want to harm the Democrats or harm the Republican or whatever. So that made the number of us willing to cover it
rather small. And like I was, and I still am, like Jordan Sheridan just brought me, like a month or 2 ago, brought me on his show, is still sort of the resident Epstein expert. And like in our circles, I was the one that was always, Ron Placone, you guys always joke that I'll find some way to bring up Epstein or Bitcoin into any conversation.
Yeah.
But it's,
I'm thinking, if you had, I wouldn't be surprised if you had t-shirts that just say Epstein Bitcoin. Just Epstein Bitcoin fan, big Epstein Bitcoin fan here.
I have a new bit in my act about how I can shut down any party, like hire me to your house, because I'll just start talking about those things and I will clear the room.
Yep.
But it's what we're seeing is how interconnected it all is. That those of us that were covering it saw it. And it was one of the, I've got to tell you, like the war machine and the banks and Epstein are the 3 main things that got really, really woke me up to both parties are awful, like just awful. And you can, and if you're trying to debate with me, like I did a joke in my special about like, telling me your party's slightly better than the other one is like telling me I have to choose between a meth head or a pedophile to babysit my children. Like it's like,
or to give me brain surgery.
Yeah, or to give me brain surgery.
Here are your 2 choices of doctors.
And what's coming undone, what's amazing to me is, and I just watched a video on this earlier today. Not America, but other countries are like prosecuting people, government people, like you're done. Like they're just like, these people are getting the UK, I think France.
Is it Norway or Netherlands that they?
Yeah, the Netherlands. Yeah. They're like, the UAE, I think, is like grabbing people up, and it's meanwhile, America is still sort of and Pam Bondi.
Meanwhile, one of the guy with 1 million mentions in the Epstein files is in the presidency. So they were saying it was 36,000 mentions, but then when Ted Lieu and Massey and them went into the place where you can actually view the unredacted versions, they said, well, those aren't really the unredacted versions because the unredacted versions are also very redacted, but they believe it's 1 million mentions of Trump in these files.
I remember Trump supporters getting mad at me, and I was like, wait a minute, people were trafficked out of Mar-a-Lago. I made all the connections to Acosta, who gave Epstein the sweetheart deal in 2009 and 2010, who then was put in Trump's first cabinet.
Yep.
And even in this last year of things coming of, well, since July, really, it's since July is when everyone started to go like, what? It's July 7th is the day that Pam Bondi went, nope, the file's empty. Ding, ding, ding. Then it's like, oh, let's invade DC and Chicago and fire Jimmy Kimmel. Like Trump will do anything to distract this. And now they're flat out saying, oh, let's let it go. Let's let it go. And I'll give credit.
One of the great moments of the Pam Bondi thing, I mean, I didn't watch most of it, but was when they had survivors in the room, and they said, you know, would you raise your hand if you're a survivor of Epstein, a victim? And they, you know, so the whole group raises their hand. They said, and raise your hand if the Justice Department has at all reached out to speak to you and hear your story or learn anything about it. And
boom.
Yeah, none of them. Justice Department has zero interest in speaking to anyone who knows any more about what went down.
And there's a prominent ex-Navy SEAL, Sean, God, I'm blanking on his last name, bald guy that's a big podcaster now. And he's what is his name? Someone in the chat will know his name. I watch clips of his show all the time. Sean.
He's been known to go as Sean Bald guy. So
Sean Bald's Navy SEAL. Sean Bald SEAL.
Yeah, Bald SEAL.
He has been, and he voted for Trump. He's a Second Amendment guy, and he's been on his show just going, Trump is protecting pedophiles. Nice. I voted for this guy. Nice. And I mean, he's just going bananas.
Well,
and it's kind of great.
And I've seen, I would never watch his fucking show, but the Bet David's, he has other co-hosts on, and one of them is like, even though they all voted for Trump, but one of his co-hosts is like, dude, it's pedophiles, he's protecting and Bet David is like, well, you know, I don't think we don't know what they knew, and the guy's like frothing at the mouth, like, what are you fucking talking about?
I know they don't have a leg to stand on. It's really interesting to see. I mean,
and then Joe Rogan had on that loon Benz, who was like, you know, I think it was just hiring women to juice deals is all it was. And you're like, and they spent 3 hours. They spent 3 hours. Oh, not just hiring women to juice deals, but also the men they were juicing the deals with lived in countries where underage was legal. So
sure.
So it was legal to juice deals with sex trafficked children.
Oh, great. Yeah, I think the drug cartel really just rigs, poker games. I think that's what the drug cartels just do. They just rig poker games.
Yeah, mainly poker games. They carry some baking powder in baggies in case it's needed to, you know, clean up or something.
Yeah, just neighborhood like nickel, dime, quarter poker games, or like the buy-ins $20. I think they just rig those, is what I'm understanding. It's like we're seeing that the ruling elites, how awful they are and how they actually, and the other thing, we're seeing the politics of the ruling elites. It's not just that they did all this awful stuff to children, which is horrific, but we're seeing like how it was so interwoven with the banking and the intelligence community and just controlling governments. And, you know, like, I don't know what this is going to mean for the next elections, if Trump even allows them to happen. But like,
I mean, it's kind of perfect for a collapsing empire. So it's
nice. It is.
It's nice to see it all blowing up at once.
Yeah, and it's funny, like on social media, like when I've gone after, you know, Trump for covering this up, and some of the MAGA people go, so are the Clintons. Yeah, great, round them all up. I hate all of them. Again, I have a 200 video list. Go get them all. I hate all of these people.
Yeah, I
don't care. Keep Guantanamo Bay open and waterboard anybody that went to his island and live stream it. I'm fine with that. I don't care. Fuck these people. What do we? Who cares? Like, I'm not on a team.
I say drop them all on Epstein's island, but without any like food deliveries or anything, and just have it videotaped while they slowly murder and eat each other.
I would put some like coked up gorillas that are horny so that they get raped.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Before they eat each other, you know what I mean? So there's this sort of like they're getting raped by animals.
All right. Fair enough.
So how was everybody's weekend?
All right, now that I've got Graham riled up, we can move on. I just wanted to make sure we'd feel some feistiness from him this week.
Just in case I might have been too tired. I have a little jet lag from going from Asia to the United States and everything, and Asia again.
I was worried you might give us the straight-laced version of War Crimes in Korea. I wanted the real shit.
Oh, this show is the highlight of my month. I love this show. I've like the last couple of months we've been having even more fun. It's always just show's always been fun, but it's been even more fun the last couple of months. I don't know why, because
part of the reason is I've been using this book and I love it's nice having like short little like just this is a fucking lie we were taught in preschool. Like, which you can't always have those. Well, sometimes it's got to be a half hour on how we, murdered people in Vietnam. So it's
sure.
But this is more fun. I agree. And this week we'll get into the myth of George Washington and the myth of Abraham Lincoln.
Oh, well, yours is definitely going to be more fun than mine. So we should probably lead off with mine because mine's good old fashioned U.S. war crimes.
Okay.
So here's segment number 1, the truth about America's war crimes during the Korean War. Epstein. Anyway, it just dawned on me today. I was like, we've never really gone into the Korean War much. We have a little, I don't think so. We've never really gone into it. And
I feel like a long time ago, I might have done a segment on how we killed like a third of their population.
Yeah. So,
but it wasn't like detailed.
No, I think it was like part of another segment or something maybe, but I was like, and this is the forgotten war. Mm-hmm. And part of what is forgotten is America's war crimes. And I just look this up and it's our good friends Wikipedia. So again, as we always say on the show, we're not saying Wikipedia is some, oracle of truth, but this is what they're admitting to publicly.
Right. And where Wikipedia is wrong is because it's generally defending the white American myth of the U.S. empire or something. So if war crimes make it onto Wikipedia, that means they're really well documented. Like,
oh yeah,
like more well documented.
And Wikipedia just again, we'll mention in Wikipedia speak of just like, oh, and by the way, there was a bunch of war crimes, but the communists were they bad. Like this Wikipedia page is all about how we had to stop North Korea linking up with the Soviet Union. So this is, first of all, over 3 million people died in the Korean War. And this war went on, I think, basically for about 4 or 5 years. And it is possibly the deadliest conflict of the Cold War era. Although only rough estimates of civilian fatalities are available to Wikipedia. I'm sorry, Wikipedia.
Yeah.
You're just going to add that.
That usually means Wikipedia didn't like the estimates of
the
number of civilians dead.
We weren't comfortable with it. Just like, you could see them in a boardroom. It's like, I'm not comfortable with this number. Is there a number maybe smaller?
We just say we're not certain. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, can we just make estimate in bigger print or something like that? So this is how we get into it. the percentage of civilian casualties in Korea were higher than World War II or Vietnam. And we've talked about Vietnam. With the Cummings Institute estimating civilian casualties to be at 2 million, and the Louis estimates civilian deaths to be somewhere between 2 to 3 million.
But and I don't know if you're getting into it, but define civilian. Like when you're bombing a whole population, then the U.S. or whoever will act like any military age man is a combatant, or maybe not even man, maybe just anybody of military age is combat. So it's like the term civilian, they just bullshit it, you know?
Well, especially in Korea and Vietnam, because it's just like, well, they all look alike anyway, so let's just bomb the whole village. We don't know who's on what.
And if we leave the village, then the bad people could use it. So let's just murder everyone in the village. Yeah.
Yeah, just in case. So that's very much what happened in this war. So this was Gunter Louis and Bruce Cummings were the two scholars that have done the deepest dives of what happened there, and the civilian portion of the death toll may have gone as high as 70%. Louis estimates of 42% of World War II and 30 to 46% of the Vietnam War. Data compiled by the Peace Research Institute in Oslo lists just under 1 million battle deaths over the course of the Korean War, with a range of 644,000 to 1.5 million and a mid-value estimate of 3 million total deaths, with a range of 1.5 to 4.5 million. So there's just there's these wide things that we're not even sure about, but we know that the most possible military deaths were no more than 1.5 million, but there's some total deaths can go up to 4.5 million. So again, there is at least several million of 2 to 3 million civilian deaths that are estimated, right? So,
I've covered this before, that I don't know the number of people in Korea at the time, but we killed essentially a third of their population.
Yeah. And there were all these mass graves. There was a bunch of people were executed in Daejeon in July of 1950. There were civilians killed in a night battle near Yongsan in August of 1950. There's North Korean prisoners of war are exhuming the bodies of massacre victims who were buried by North Korean forces in Hamburg. It was now in all fairness, North Korea committed some war crimes as well. But again, this is America, who likes to claim that we're the good guys, and we're always talking about human rights violations. And oh God, I mean, we use the human rights violations. We use that trope again when we illegally kidnapped Maduro. Again, not that he's, but we never, ICE is committing human rights violations on American citizens. Their human rights being violated today, right now. And is anyone going to invade us to free the American people from these human rights violations? Are we going to be invaded for our freedom? We should be.
Yeah. So I just looked it up, and the population of North Korea prior to the Korean War was around 9 to 10 million. So yeah, if 3 to 4 million were killed, then you're talking definitely a third.
Yeah. And it's similar to Vietnam in the sense of the North-South. I mean, eventually you're still killing Koreans. I mean, you're still killing Korean civilians.
Well, and that's part of the reason the U.S. is willing to do many of these wars, the war in Korea, the proxy war in Ukraine. It's like, oh, so it's essentially people we hate versus people we kind of dislike. Ukrainians and Russians killing each other. Beautiful. You mean our people don't die and their people die just on both sides? Excellent. I mean,
great.
You think the U.S. cared whether South Koreans were dying? Fucking no.
No way. It's amazing. So, Yes, there were massacres committed by North Korea for sure. The trend was particularly severe in areas north of the 38th parallel. This is when we crossed the 38th parallel and the North Koreans and the Chinese flooded into the country. There was also, they got the commission. So there was the South Korean Truth and Reconciliation Commission in 2005 to 2010 investigated atrocities and other human rights violations through much of the 20th century, including from the Japanese colonial, like the atrocities the Japanese army committed, and through the Korean War. So of the Korean War massacres, the commission was petitioned to investigate. 82% were perpetrated by South Korean forces, with only 18% perpetrated by North Korean forces. So the United States was backing the South Korean forces. Yeah. The commission also received petitions for more than 200 large-scale killings of South Korean civilians by the U.S. military during the war, mostly air attacks. It confirmed several such cases, including refugees crowded into a cave, attacked with napalm bombs, which survivors said killed 360 people, and an air attack that killed 197 refugees gathered in a field in the far south. It recommended South Koreans seek reparations from the United States. But in 2010, a reorganized commission under a new conservative government concluded that most U.S. mass killings resulted from military necessity.
Yeah, our necessity to kill all the Koreans. And yeah, I know it's going to shock a lot of people, but back then when bombs and napalm and all this shit were dropped from the skies, it wasn't dropped on a very high-tech surveillance target measuring the walking style of the combatant. We can see even from a mile up, we can see he's carrying a rifle. And even though plenty of that shit is bullshit, it was just bomb the village. It was like bomb the huts, and literally you have some of the biggest generals. There's a famous quote from one of the biggest generals at the time who was a huge fan of murdering all these North Koreans, but he basically said to the U.S. government, like, we don't know what else to bomb. There's nothing left that's bigger than the size of two sticks. Like, they didn't have anything left to bomb, and they were still being told, just keep bombing.
Yeah. And look, we started this civilian bombing stuff in Dresden in World War II. I mean, that's where the book Fahrenheit 451 was. And we bombed Dresden in such a way.
Kurt Vonnegut was in it.
Yeah, Kurt Vonnegut. So we really, and even World War II. So the Korean War was the first war after World War II. And we were, it was like, we were hoping to find like Nazi factories and rail yards, like things that we bombed in World War II. And there wasn't that in Korea, really. So it's just like you said, just bomb these villages. Well, there's nothing left. Well, bomb them anyway. There's refugees in a cave. Fucking bomb it. Yeah. They just basically were like.
Sorry, we got it wrong a second ago. We said Fahrenheit 451, Slaughterhouse 5.
Yep. Slaughterhouse 5. You're right. Slaughterhouse 5. I forgot. Fahrenheit 451 is the essential. Slaughterhouse 5 is that book. Thank you for that correction in the chat. So the initial bombing attack on North Korea was approved on the fourth day of the war, 29 of June 1950, by General Douglas MacArthur, immediately upon request of commanding general of the Far East Forces, George E. Stratemeyer. Major bombing began in late July. U.S. air power conducted 7,000 close support and interdiction airstrikes that month, which helped slow the North Korean rate of advance. On August 12th, 1950, the Air Force dropped 625 tons of bombs on North Korea. 2 weeks later, the daily tonnage increased to 800 tons. The United States dropped a total of 635,000 tons of bombs, including 32,557 tons of napalm on Korea, more than during the entire Pacific War. Meaning the entire Pacific theater of World War II, they dropped more. And this is where they started using napalm.
And it can't be really overstated how important racism was in order to commit these kinds of atrocities. Like like a lot of work was done to make people and the soldiers and everything believe these are essentially insects. They don't matter. It doesn't matter whether it's a mother and children and everything else. And you see, I'm sure there are people who argue that what we did in Korea was genocide, and it's similar with Gaza. It's like in order to commit that kind of horrific genocide, you create this phenomenally racist ideas that these aren't really humans.
Yeah, they're subhuman. They're insects or whatever. And Korea ranks just behind Laos, Cambodia, and Vietnam as the countries America has bombed the most.
I don't know why North Korea today would want nuclear weapons. I don't understand. Why are they being so surly? You know, why not just agree to disarm and just run into into America's warm embrace? Or what are they afraid of?
Yeah, it's weird. It's almost like there's people still alive that went through this, and then there was like starvation and all this other horrific shit that came out of the Korean War. Mm-hmm. So almost every substantial building in North Korea was destroyed as a result. The war's highest-ranking American POW, Major General William F. Dean, reported that the majority of North Korean cities and villages he saw were either rubble or snow-covered wasteland. North Korean factories, schools, hospitals, and government offices were forced to move underground, and air defenses were non-existent. In May 1953, 5 major North Korean dams were bombed, according to Charles K. Armstrong. The bombing of these dams and ensuing floods threatened several million North Koreans with starvation, although large-scale famine was averted with emergency aid provided by North Korean allies.
And I know this will shock a lot of people, but all of these things are war crimes in the actual dictionary definition, which is in war, you're supposedly allowed to do a lot of things. You're allowed to kill the enemy. You're allowed to bomb the enemy, etc., under our, Geneva Conventions, everything. But you're not allowed to blow up infrastructure that's just going to harm everyone. It's collective punishment. It's a war crime. It breaks all international law. Now, as we've seen with Israel and with plenty of what the United States has done, we don't give a shit about war crimes, about breaking the Geneva Conventions, about any of it.
Oh, we love screaming about war crimes when it's somebody else.
Yes.
Yes. But we don't hold ourselves accountable to any of it. Don't give a shit at all. I mean, it's just preposterous. So General Matthew Ridgway said that except for air power, the war would have been over in 60 days with all Korea in communist hands. Okay. United Nations Command Forces flew over 1 million combat and combat support sorties during the Korean War. And then let's get into the abuse of prisoners of war. Chinese sources claim that the I don't know if I'm pronouncing it, George prison camp on George Island, Chinese POWs experienced anti-communist lecturing and missionary work from secret agents from the U.S. and Taiwan. Pro-communist POWs experienced torture, cutting off of limbs, and were executed in public. Being forced to write confession letters and receiving tattoos of anti-communism slogan and flag of the Republic of China were also commonly seen in case any wanted to go back to mainland China. Pro-communist POWs who could not endure the torture formed an underground group to fight the pro-nationalist POWs. Wow. The rebellion, in the end, let's see, in the end, over 14,000 Chinese POWs went to Taiwan and fewer than 6,000 POWs returned to mainland China. Those who went to Taiwan were called righteous men and experienced brainwashing again and were sent to the army or were arrested. Wow. The United States reported that North Korean mistreated prisoners of war as well. Yes, they did. There was forced labor. They were marched to death and some were executed. There was POWs killed at the battles for Hill 312, 303, the Pusan Perimeter, Daejeon, and Sunchan. Those massacres were discovered afterwards by UN forces. Later, a U.S. Congress War Crimes Investigation, the United States Senate Subcommittee on Korean War Atrocities, and the Permanent Subcommittee on the Investigations of the Committee reported that 2/3 of American POWs in Korea died as a result of war crimes. So North Korea killed a lot of, for sure. But again, America claims to be the better people.
We claim to be the better people, but also there's a question of why we were there.
Right.
Last I checked, it's not. I mean, is it? Because North Korea is just south of Sacramento, right? That's why we were there. It's connected to the edge of California, so we needed to defend our territory, as I recall. Or we were there to get because they were keeping all the persimmons to themselves. Was that?
Yeah, I think there was a big thing with the avocados and the almonds. That's what it was about in California.
Yeah. Well, look, you're gonna fucking hoard persimmons and avocados, then what?
And then Hollywood makes movies showing how brutal they were to American POWs, and I'm not saying they weren't. They obviously were very brutal to American POWs, but again, we talked about this. I remember we did numerous stories about the Vietnam War, especially a year ago when I went to the War Crimes Museum in Ho Chi Minh City.
I thought, you know what, Graham? I thought those were trumped up charges. I didn't think you should have been there. I'm glad you got off at the end of the day. But
thanks, buddy. Yeah, it was good stuff. But again, as I learned at that museum, a lot of the torture techniques we taught them, they got from our CIA. So the let's see, in December 1950, the South Korean National Defense Corps was founded. The soldiers were 406,000 drafted citizens. In the winter of 1951, 50 to 90,000 South Korean National Defense Corps were starved to death while marching southward under the PVA offensive when their commanding officers embezzled funds earmarked for their food. So again, we partner up with some corrupt army, corrupt government in South Korea that embezzled money and allowed their own soldiers to die. So the event is called the National Defense Corps Incident. So basically,
good stuff.
Good stuff. I mean, that's America. Again, yeah, sure. North Korea did awful things, of course, but we did more awful. We killed more civilians, and we just bombed the holy crap out of mainly northern part of the country, but just bombed it and bombed it and bombed it and bombed it. And then we did the same thing in Vietnam.
And I just want to reiterate, I don't know why North Korea today is so scared. I think they should just...
I don't get it.
Be our buddies.
Yeah, just be our buddies. And, Vietnam is this, as I've stated, I've been there, it's this thriving economy, and it's this pretty stable government. And we don't talk much about the Korean War, mainly because it was sort of a tie, but it was the precursor.
Well, we haven't won a war since World War II, which Soviet Union won. So, yeah, they're all pretty much all of them are ties or losses or whatever, however you want to rate it.
Yeah, or just we helped. So yeah, that's the United States war crimes and Korean War.
I need some loud noises.
And now, segment number 2, the myth of George Washington. Dun, dun, dun.
All right, we're getting into. We've been doing this for a few weeks. For those of you who missed the last few weeks, the myths about America, and we're just kind of jumping around. It's from a book by Phil Mason called "Hitler's Secret Jewish Psychic," which we actually have not read that story at all. We're just reading the other stories. But here we go. George Washington, which Grant will love to remind you I'm descended from, but technically I'm not, because George Washington is known to have fathered no children. So his children are the children of his wife, Martha Washington, and she had a daughter, I guess, maybe, named Eleanor Lewis and Custard. And my aunt, who recently passed away, was the fifth Eleanor Lewis in the line. So the name Eleanor Lewis had been passed down over the years to my aunt.
Nice. Thank you, Alex Das Liebe, for the super chat. Lee's gonna ruin his ancestors for George Washington.
I ruined all my ancestors, except we did do a segment where I actually gave a positive story of one of my ancestors, Roger Williams, who's founded Providence, Rhode Island, and was one of the first, or maybe the first, essentially white society or white created society in America that allowed religious freedom. So.
Oh, nice.
Anyway.
I remember Providence, Rhode Island. They had a strip club that had a breakfast buffet called Legs and Eggs.
Nice. Graham's new book, Strip Clubs of America, is coming out in a few weeks. It's how to tour the entire U.S. from one strip club to another.
I never went to it. I just knew guys that told me about it.
It's actually a survival guide. Can one survive a trek across America just via strip clubs?
Strip club breakfast buffet.
Yikes. All right, George Washington, father of the nation, best and by the way, many of the other founding fathers, you kind of, at least nowadays in our history, are getting some hints of the reality. Like people know about, which we covered some more of it last time, but know about Thomas Jefferson having children with a slave and etc. So I feel like a lot of that is coming out slowly. Mainstream. I don't mean some historian knows about it. Except you don't hear almost anything about George Washington. Still to this day, he's like the one that's held up as like, no, but that guy, he was a good guy. George and by the way, there's plenty of positive things you can still say about him, but I'm just going to shit on some of them. George Washington.
This is like when you did that whole series debunking like criminal science, and then just how fingerprints don't work. This
forensic science. And you could just see Graham's faith in law enforcement slowly eroding 1 week to
all of it. It's like my youth of as a child, loving watching cop shows. I was just like, man, it's all lies.
Yeah. Not blood spatter. Oh,
man.
Wait, bite marks? Bite marks was on my fantasy forensics team. Shit.
Oh, God. If there was such a thing as fantasy forensics teams, I would join that. That would be great. Bite marks.
George Washington. He was best known for four American values and virtues: self-denial, sacrifice, patriotism, and disinterestedness. I don't know what that one has to do with, but anyway, although esteemed for his service to the new republic, he did handsomely profit from it too. By the time of his retirement, after an almost unbroken 48 years of what we like to call public service, including 8 as the president, he had eased himself back into a life in his Virginia home at Mount Vernon, just south of the new capital, named after him as the most revered man in America and the richest man in America. And he was I believe he was the richest, one of the top 10 richest in America going into the Revolutionary War. So From rich to richer, really, is what happened to George Washington. Also, we haven't done a segment on it, but there's plenty of people have written about how the Revolutionary War was mainly in terms of who decided to do it, was mainly the rich in America wanting to be able to enrich themselves without the king over their shoulder. They wanted to keep enriching themselves. And then they sent, as is the norm with wars, they sent poor people to go die in it.
Adam, thank you, Cadet Bonesbur's old slave to George was a real cad, which I think is...
Yes, that's not in our analysis today, but apparently he had slaves' teeth.
That's not creepy at all.
I'm sure they were teeth that the slaves lost naturally.
God. Why are you wearing another human's teeth? So George Washington was a cannibal? Like, what is going on?
I don't think he ate the teeth. He ate with the teeth, Graham. There's a difference.
It's still weird. Come on. Are you going to want to put somebody else's teeth in your mouth?
I didn't say it wasn't weird. By the way, Peter Thiel, I don't know if you know this, has someone else's head.
Oh, God.
Yeah, he had someone's head planted on him a few years ago. I want to start spreading that rumor. That's a good one.
That's truth. It's truth. That's happening.
And people are going to believe it. Over the years, he developed Mount Vernon into an 8,000-acre estate. At his death, it was the main 22-room house, 5 separate working farms, 300 slaves. Many people in America still don't know that George Washington had slaves, but had a shit ton of slaves. By the end, he had accumulated through land speculation a further 15,000 acres in Virginia, 5,000 in Kentucky, 3,000 in the yet-to-be-developed Ohio, Illinois, and Great Lakes region. So he's winning America's independence while grabbing up all the land. It sounds kind of like Donald Trump's view of the presidency. 1,000 apiece in Maryland and New York, 200 acres in Pennsylvania. American biographer. He was also the war propagandist for the Confederacy. Douglas Freeman, also the name of my high school.
Nice.
Douglas Freeman High School. That's right. Had conceded that Washington's ambition for wealth made him acquisitive and sometimes contentious. So, again, yeah, he's doing public service as the president and using it to heavily enrich himself when he was already rich. When in office, he would insist upon exact payment of every farthing due to him. He was determined, according to Freeman, to get everything that he honestly could, and sometimes dishonestly too. He has been described as a land grabber. And in his youth, he illegally had a surveyor stake out some lucrative territory in an area that had been decreed off limits to settlers. So he's like what an Israeli settler is today.
But we were told as children, George Washington never told a lie. Honest. He was good at stealing land.
Very honest, that man. An oft-quoted illustration of Washington's dedication to service of his country was the decision he made to take command of the Continental Army at the start of the War for Independence, but he gallantly agreed to forego a salary. What a noble man. Here's what we aren't told. We aren't told all he asked in return was that his expenses be paid. Well, turned out this was a smart choice. Had he taken the pay, which was $500 a month, he would have gotten about $48,000 during his entire 8-year service. But by opting for his expenses, the end amount was $447,000 by the smallest estimate, and that's about $9 million in today's money.
Oh, brilliant. Just brilliant.
He managed to include in these bills new carriages, imported wines to his headquarters. Those were all expenses.
Do you know how hard it is to be president without imported wines, Lee? You know, it's just...
You can't make those decisions without them.
Oh, I mean, imagine drinking a regular local American wine. Like, how would you... Oh, it's horrible. You might as well hang yourself. You might as well pull out your slave teeth and just hang yourself.
Just bite yourself with your own slave teeth to death. I think that's what should have happened. Hey, Graham, you're not looking at it from the kind-hearted view of this. He was allowing that those slave teeth to enjoy imported wine of a level that no slave would ever get to enjoy. So those teeth got to live the elite upper crust life.
As he's yanking teeth out of their mouth. These teeth are going to know what good wine is.
They're going to have some fun.
I'm doing you a favor.
So he owned a lot of slaves, although he frequently agonized over the rights and wrongs of slavery. Man, what have I heard that before?
While drinking really good wine. Just like, oh boy, we got to do something about this.
Yeah. I believe this was a Jefferson motto too. I'm really agonizing over slavery. He eventually did. He managed to resist exercising his legal right to free slaves even up to his own death. And we covered more on this in a second, but we did a whole segment on one of his slaves escaping her imprisonment, and he worked hard to try and catch her and never succeeded at catching her. We will mention that again in just a second. But he eventually did release some slaves in his will, but the will specified that it was only when Martha also died. So basically, he gifted them to Martha and said they'd be free when she died. She then released them, possibly out of kindness, but possibly because she thought that the slaves would kill her so they could end up free.
And she didn't need their teeth anymore.
She only kept a few teeth for herself. Yeah. During Washington's presidency, the country's capital was moved from New York to Philadelphia. He was so disappointed with the quality of food there that he brought his slave cook Hercules up from Mount Vernon. As under Pennsylvania law, slaves were automatically freed after 6 months in residence. Washington would regularly send Hercules back to Virginia just before the 6 months was up, have him stay a few days, and then come back so as to exploit a loophole so that his cook, the slave Hercules, could always be with him. And an update that is not in this book, which I almost covered for This Week in Government Secrets, our bonus segment. Hercules also escaped from enslavement from George Washington. And Hercules was a famous cook. He'd apparently been trained in Europe, and he was a well-known cook. Some of his recipes were stolen and, of course, are now attributed to other more famous white cooks, but was apparently a genius cook. And he escaped from slavery, but it was inspired by some other slaves who escaped from George Washington. Up to 50 people escaped from George Washington's clutches. And the one we covered previously was Ona Judge, who was the attendant to his wife, the main attendant. And she slipped out in Philadelphia when they were there because slavery was illegal there. She slipped away, got on a boat, hid in the boat. But Washington spent years trying to capture her and never succeeded.
So he's wearing slave's teeth, trying to capture a freed slave, but he's agonizing over it while drinking imported wine that the government pays for.
But Graham, in your analysis, you failed to mention he was honest. He was honest to a fault. Another picture that needs retouching is Washington's military prowess. It seems that he was actually not a terribly good fighting commander. I mean, I know some go, well, isn't it unbelievable that the Americans, these scrappy group of farm boys defeated the British Army, but the British Army was coming over in boats, from that took a month or 2 months to get here. They had no supplies it's kind of amazing it lasted as long as it did. When appointed commander-in-chief of the Continental Army, he confidently predicted the war would be an exertion of a few weeks. It took 7 years, and Washington would lose more pitched battles than he won. Despite his near-hero status from his war exploits and his first president, Washington appears to have irritated as many as he impressed. He had an abiding envy of pomp and ritual. So you got to remember, the United States at that time is fleeing the pomp and ritual of the fucking king. And you'd think the first thing they want to throw out is some pomp and ritual. but instead, Washington was all about it. He had deep-rooted anti-British sentiment at the start of the Revolutionary War was his rejection by the snobbish British military elite that he yearned to be part of. So he had wanted to be part of the British elite and was kind of not accepted. And so that actually contributed to his desire to have the Revolutionary War or be part of it. But once he had the trappings of office, he made the most of them. Although head of a democratic republic, he required strict observation of the dignity of his position. He insisted on everyone bowing to him.
What?
Instead of a handshake.
Oh.
More than one witness described how, as president, he performed his dignified bow. His hands were so disposed as to indicate that the salutation was not to be accompanied with shaking of hands. So basically, he'd hide his hands behind his back while people bowed to him to make it clear, don't shake my fucking hands.
He just walks up with with his hands behind his back going, nope, can't shake, gotta bow. Can't shake, gotta bow.
And and many don't know that he had his assistant by his side with the early version of Purell ready to go at all times. It was actually a slave mucus that he'd put on his hands for Purell.
I mean, would you want to shake the hand of a guy that had slave teeth in his mouth? I mean, honestly, no. I'll take the bow over.
He'd have people shake his teeth. Was how he
He
managed.
just looked like a zombie demon, just like with somebody else's teeth in his mouth. What a nutcake!
On ceremonial occasions, he'd have every chair removed from the room so that no guest could take a seat in his presence. So he wanted to be king of America.
Oh, I'm sure that had nothing to do with his rewriting history, making him this great general that took over everything, and he was amazing, and that the picture of crossing the Potomac and all this other stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, the original description of crossing the Delaware River, he in that painting, he initially had soiled himself, but they painted over that part. So
his wig fell off and he's bumbling around, and his men hated him.
He was bald, toothless, and had pooped himself, but they touched it up in the final version. So.
Or he's just standing there all proud, Oh,
it's like Donald Trump with the orange spray tan. Oh, by the way, there's photos. He came out in Mar-a-Lago without his orange goo on, and it's horrifying. He looks like an old lady. It's creepy. I mean, it's equally horrifying with the orange goo on, but still.
This country's run by just old nutcases.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. And I've repeated this throughout some of this history of the United States is you look at the United States is now and you go, oh, this is the perfect way for us to start. It's been like this since the beginning. There just wasn't the coverage of it. No one was tweeting about how George Washington wouldn't let anyone shake his fucking hand. There was no coverage, but it's been like this all along.
Just because there's no painting of George Washington falling asleep in a cabinet meeting because he's too old or whatever.
Yeah. All right. Well, we don't have time, I think, for all of Abraham Lincoln, but I'm just going to start Abraham Lincoln, and we'll complete him on the next episode.
Yes.
So, Abraham Lincoln, as you all know, also has a hero status. And by the way, for those of you where Lincoln's still your hero, don't worry. I'm not going to say he ate children or anything. It's not. He wasn't an Epsteiner, but that we know of.
That we know of.
As the president, hero status as the president who ended slavery. He certainly did pronounce the Emancipation Proclamation halfway through the Civil War, so that can never be denied. But he never actually believed in any kind of equality of races. We've mentioned that before. I don't think we did a segment on it, though. But campaigning for Senate in 1858, he made his views crystal clear. Here is what he said. I will say then that I am not, nor ever have I been, in favor of bringing about in any way the social and political equality of the white and black races. There is a physical difference between the white and black races, which I believe will forever forbid the two races living together on terms of social and political equality. And inasmuch as they cannot so live, while they do remain together, there must be the position of superior and inferior. And I, as much as any other man, am in favor of having the superior position assigned to the white race. So now you can say that those were the times if you want, but just know that this guy was not a he was not the vanguard of let's have equality between races.
Yeah.
According to biographer Jim Morris, in all 175 speeches that Lincoln made between 1854 and 1860, he always insisted that it would be unconstitutional to abolish slavery. Now, here's where it gets crazy, and I'll finish with this. The move for which history places him on the historical pedestal, the highest pedestal, his Emancipation Proclamation, 1863. And by the way, I didn't know this before reading this, was only taken for the most politically expedient of reasons. Well, I did know this part. It aimed to reduce the risk of foreign intervention against the North, which had been growing significantly and would heal a split in his party about the running of the war, which was, according to one historian, rapidly getting out of hand. Moreover, as barely anyone now likes to remember, the Emancipation Proclamation freed slaves only in the rebel Confederacy, over which he had no control. So he did not free slavery that existed in the states that remained loyal, of which he did have control, nor even in the Confederate territories then occupied by the Union. So basically, any land occupied and controlled by Abraham Lincoln, he did not free the slaves. He only freed them in the places he had no power to free them. All of these were expressly excluded in the proclamation. In fact, only 200,000 of the estimated 3.5 million slave population were freed during the war as a result of the proclamation. One cynic, this is my favorite, one cynic observed that Lincoln freed all the slaves except the ones he could free. Lincoln never contemplated that the result of his action would be that the blacks in America would become proper equal citizens of the United States. He did not believe that's what was going to happen. He actually favored colonization as the solution of the problem. Research published in 2000 showed that in the two states of the Union addresses, he called for the deportation of black people. Shortly before the end of the Civil War, he said, I believe it would be better to export them all to some fertile land, some fertile country with a good climate, which they could have to themselves. So at no time did he think that there would be just freedom of black people throughout the United States or that there'd be equality, and he wasn't really aiming for that in any way.
I'm wondering, it must have been just a weird oversight that none of these speeches made it into the Steven Spielberg movie with Daniel Day-Lewis. You know, it's just
I have no idea why that was. I don't know why Ken Burns hasn't highlighted the fact that he only freed 200,000 of the 3.5 million. But
that's weird. Yeah, it was all kind of an oversight by everybody. Weird.
They just missed it. I will have more on Abraham Lincoln, although I think the coming stuff on Abraham Lincoln doesn't really hit at the heart of who he was as much. So if you're still hanging on to him as a hero, then he also, we've covered it, I think, on the show, oversaw or whatever, signed off on the largest mass execution in American history of Native Americans.
Yeah. Yes, he definitely did that. That also not in the Steven Spielberg movie.
Are you sure? I thought it was after the credits. They had a little extra scene of just him saying, yeah, kill him.
He's just like, that's in the little button and during the credits of him just executing people.
Everybody's like, dude, you got to stay past the credits. There's amazing.
Oh,
scenes.
it's amazing. It's crazy. It's like an Avengers movie. It's really cool.
All right, we do have to run to our extra segment. But
Lee, where can people find you online?
I'd say everyone should follow Really Camp at Substack.com, reallycamp.substack.com. I've been putting up a lot of stuff there. It's also the best way to follow me because you'll probably get the email alerts, which no other platform allows me to actually reach out to people. So that's probably the best place to do it. New Unredacted Tonight comes out tomorrow on YouTube.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Go to GrahamElwood.com. You can support my GoFundMe for this late night talk show. We're doing a pilot here in Bangkok. It's going to be really cool. And I got other tour dates popping up. So go to GrahamElwood.com. This has been Government
And if
Secrets.
you want the extra segment, patreon.com/government secrets right now.
We're going there right now. There's 94 segments. Go there right now. This has been Government Secrets, episode 197. Korean War atrocities at George W. Washington was not who we said he was.
George W. Washington.
George W. Washington.
Later, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.